We want to learn the laws of Hanukkah, Shabbat, and modern technology. Today's subject of today's shir is this is all lefi, according to the opinion of the chief of all Sephardic poskim, HaRav Ovadia Yosef, but it's a fascinating shir on technology. Question number one is going to be, can one use an electric menorah? Halachically, to say a blessing on it. Secondly, on Shabbat, can one use, like a woman, sometimes she's going to be in a situation like give birth, Be'ezat Hashem, and she's not in a Jewish hospital. Can she turn on the lights of her room? And is electric lights good enough for Shabbat light? And the third question is Havdala. Sometimes a person is on vacation, so it applies really, this really comes up if you're not in your hometown and you're on vacation. A lot of times Hanukkah does happen during the winter vacation season, the Xmas. People are not in their house to light the menorah. They don't have access. They were negligent, whatever. They thought they could find a Chabad or a menorah somewhere. So are you allowed to use an electronic menorah? Electric lights to be Yotze Shabbat, which the answer is going to be fascinating according to Ovadia, and then we'll end off with Havdala. So let's go one by one. Rav Ovadia deals with this in his classic and clear Yechavedad, volume number 4, Teshuvah 38. And Rav Ovadia brings many poskim, but Rav Ovadia paskins in this case la'alacha labelamaisa that one would not be able to do what? Use an electronic menorah to fulfill his obligation on the 8 nights of Hanukkah. And what's the reason? And we're going to try to give the reason for each one of the opinions in the shir. The reason, very simply, is that on the Hanukkah, why are we lighting the menorah? In remembrance of the menorah that's behind me, of the Bet HaMikdash, our holy temple, that the Kohen Gadol used to. And to read Rav Ovadia verbatim, he says the reason why you cannot use an electronic menorah is because there's no oil and there's no wick. Now, of course, a lot of modern Ashkenazi people, even from the Raman, Europe, they used to substitute olive oil with a wax candle, and of course, Kabbalistically, as we're going to see in Chacham Ben Sion Mutzafi, if one use olive oil is obviously the best. But everybody agrees that if you don't have olive oil, you could use wax. But wax is like oil, and then it has the flame of a wick. But since electronic menorah is totally not similar, because it doesn't have any fuel and it doesn't have a wick, he says it's unfortunately not going to cut the bill. So Rav Ovadia brings many poskim that agree with this. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, and I did some research into it. Rabbi Jachter brings that it could be, according to Rav Chaim Oizer, if one uses a battery menorah, one could be Yotze, but definitely halachically, Rav Ovadia in his conclusion, and we'll see one of the great Sephardic poskim of our time, Chacham Ben Sion Mutzafi, also concurs with Rav Ovadia. Bottom line is, we cannot use electronic menorah because it is totally different in its style and essence than the menorah that was lit in the Bet HaMikdash. It has no fuel, it has no oil, it has no wick. But Rav Ovadia does go. I think Rav Ovadia, because for Shabbat we're going to see, actually fascinating enough, you could actually turn off the lights of your hotel room or your room and say if you don't have a wick or candle, and it is considered flame. So Rav Ovadia says, in a case where you are absolutely don't have anything else, and the only thing you would find in CVS, where you're located in Kalamazoo, is electronic menorah, it's best to turn it on without a bracha. But he said later in the night, if you do find a kosher menorah, you could light it with a bracha. And definitely, he says, if you see electronic menorah lit up in some, in front of somebody's front yard, again, because the bracha of Sha'asa Nisim Lavotenu, it's not going to hold muster. You can't make a bracha of Sha'asa Nisim Lavotenu, because whether you light it yourself or you see somebody else's menorah, it's not allowed. It's not a kosher menorah. The thing brings a beautiful, in page Chanukah B'Tzion, Chacham Ben Tzion Mutzafi also concurs with Rav Ovadia, because he bases it on the Rishonim. The reason is that the Rab Zarachia Halevi, one of the great Rishonim, the Bala Ma'or, the Rashba, the Ran, all of them, it's clear in the Rishonim, require that the menorah be similar to the menorah, the Chanukiah, right? By the way, we don't like the menorah on Hanukkah. A menorah only has how many branches?
8.
No, 7. A Chanukiah has 9, because it has for the 8 nights. But again, the Chanukiah is coming to commemorate the menorah. It's a kind of like a miniature, for the holiday of Hanukkah is in honor of the menorah of the Bet HaMikdash. And since they had no electricity then, and electric menorah is it's apples and oranges, the poskim hold, according to all the Rishonim. Second reason is, like we said, Rav Ovadia says, the electric menorah has no oil and has no wick. Third reason is, a menorah, for any given reason, a menorah could look like a candelabra. It could look like an electric lamp, reading lamp. Right? Now this one you could argue, I saw online, some poskim want to argue, Rabbi Jackter wants to argue, if it does say Happy Hanukkah on it, this wouldn't be a problem. But, because really, every night we could you don't need to have 8 lights. You could only light what? 1 light. That's Mahadran. We do Mahadran and a Mahadran. So, especially if it's just the electric lamp and you turn it on, maybe it's just a reading lamp. So that's why the poskim are not happy with it. This is not only the opinion of Rav Ovadia. Many Rishonim are not happy, like the Lubliner of Eliyahu Kletzkin, and the going from Lublin, Eliyahu Kletzkin in his Sefer Shas Shuvas Divrei Eliyahu. Many poskim are against using electronic menorahs. It's not only Rav Ovadia. The fourth reason why we shouldn't use electronic menorahs, Chacham Ben Tzion Mutzapi, is because it's a suffix. We say lahadlik ner. So it's not clear halachically, by turning off the on and on the button, is it considered you're actually lighting it. When a menorah, you light the wick, right? So since there's no flame, also, that's another reason. The Yaskel Avdi, Kafachaim brings this reason. And the final reason is that if you light something, it has to have at least the light. For how long does the menorah need to light? Half an hour. The problem with electronic menorah is when you turn it on, you're not causing it to be on for half an hour. It's the turbine engine. If God forbid the power goes out in the electronic plant, it's not going to work. So therefore, for all these reasons, for sure, according to the Sephardic, that we hold Safek Brachot Lahakel, we absolutely should not use an electronic menorah and say, definitely we would be forbidden. We wouldn't be allowed to say a bracha on it, but we can agree that if there is unfortunately no other type of light available, then we would allow that to be used. Now we go to the case. Now Rav Ovadia talks about, let's say, once we're on this subject, we want to do all the cases of light. Now Rav Ovadia says in his Chazon Ovadia, Volume 1, page Reish Yud Aleph, 211, Halacha 19, he says fascinatingly that when one is in a place, most probably this happens when women are in the hospital or one is on a vacation in an Airbnb and he's in the middle of nowhere and he for some reason cannot find any lights. So Rav Ovadia writes, Kol she'efshar lahasig nerot shemen or shava bevadai shadif latzitz b'midei chovas adlakat nerot shel Shabbat v'yom tov. Whenever possible, one should go out of his way to use normal wax or oil candles with wicks to light his Shabbat and Yom Tov candles, because that's really, it's the classical way, and it shows you really respecting the holiday and the Yom Tov. And he says, why do we light the lights of Shabbos? It's because Shalom Bayis. By the way, there's an interesting halacha the Rambam brings down based on the Gemara. Let's say you only have enough money. People used to be very, very unfortunately poor. So let's say somebody only has enough money to avoid the Hanukkah menorah or the lights of the Shabbos candles. Which one does he do? Shabbos takes precedence. Because why do we light Shabbos? Because if there's no light in the house, there's no peace. If the husband and wife and the kids can't see each other, it's like Chas v'Shalom, what is this? Tisha B'Av that you turn off the light? So it's so important in Shalom Bayit that really in today's society, the poskim explain, our real lights of Shabbat is the chandelier and all these real LED and incandescent and electronic lighting we have. So Rav Ovadia actually says that when the woman makes a bracha on the candles of Shabbat, she should really have kavana that it should really go on the electric candles, those that are installed, the lamps and the recess lighting that's installed in the house, because those are the ones that actually give probably 100 times more light than the Shabbos candles. In the ancient times, the Shabbos candles used to light up the Shabbos table. But nowadays, so he says, so Rav Ovadia says a fascinating hidush. He says that nowadays, if a person does not have any wax, what you could do is you turn off all the lights in your dining room or your hotel room. You can say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kedishanu Tzatav V'Tzivanu L'Hadlik Ner Shel Shabbat. Turn on the lights, and it's like you lit the Shabbat candles. And it's very interesting that Rav Ovadia brings in his footnotes. Now, by the way, it wasn't clarified to me whether nowadays most of the lights we have in everywhere, because people want to save electricity, they want to go green energy, is LED lights. So I thank my friend, tremendous Talmid Chacham, Rab Michal Mutamedi. He showed me the Yalkut Yosef says that it makes absolutely no difference. And Chacham Ben Sion Abba Shaul also writes this, that the main thing is that there should be shalom in the house when people see. So it doesn't matter that if it's a cold type of bulb, whether it's like a fluorescent or LED, or it's an incandescent bulb that burns much more electricity, is much mamish like fire. By the way, when the electric bulb first came out, Rav Chaim Brisk and Rav Chaim Oizer Grzinski on Motzei Shabbat, they used to say the bracha of Borei Menorah Esh, which is going to be the third part of our shir. They used to say it on electric bulb 100 years ago, incandescent bulb, and so therefore the many other poskim agree with Rabbi Ovadia, the Shomer Shabbos Kel Chasa. Rabbi Jackter here brings that the Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Soloveitchik, Rav Tzvi Hoffman, many of the people agree with this psak of Rabbi Ovadia. Fascinating enough that if you don't have any Shabbos candles, just turn off the lights of your room, of your dining room, and say the bracha, and then turn them on. Because, the Sephardic minhag is also that you first say the bracha, then turn it on. According to the Ben Ish Chai and the Ashkenazim, they first turn it on, then say the bracha. It wouldn't make a difference. Whatever way your minhag is, you could do it. And actually, Rav Ovadia writes, according to the way of the Sfaradim, that they first do what? They make a bracha. The right thing to do is actually when you want to light your real Shabbos with candles with olive oil or wax, like the big white ones. Parenthetically, tomorrow, which is Friday, what you first light the menorah, then you light the Shabbat candles. Now, Rav Ovadia writes in Halacha 20, very interesting thing. Since really what's giving us light and we're benefiting is the electric lights, that's why he argues that you can even make a bracha on those, recess lighting in your house. It says it's very highly recommended to turn off all the lights. Ra'ui me'od likpod et or ha'chashmal kodem adlakat haner, before you turn on even the oil or wax light, and then after you say Asher Kisham Tzvanu, turn on all your wax and oil lights that are the classical, traditional ones. Then go back and also after that turn on the stationary, the lights of the dining room that are recess lighting or whatever the type of chandelier lighting that you have over there. And again, we want to reiterate, since the main light that we're using to have shalom and peace and everybody enjoy Shabbat is these lights, and has 100 times more light than just the small wick of our Shabbat candles, you should have kavanah on your bracha that it's going on that. And finally, last but not least, we get to Havdala. Since we talked about the menorah, Hanukkah, Friday, Rav Ovadia, interestingly enough, even though we mentioned in our shir, Rav Ovadia in volume number 2, Teshuvah, Yechavedat 39, in this specific case, he holds that he says that even though, of course, one of the most important things, everybody in honor of Israel, a lot of people have become Shomer Shabbat, and obviously the reason Rav Chaim Ozer, the greatest rabbi of the generation of the Chafetz Chaim, and the Rav Chaim Brisk, the greatest Rosh Yeshiva of that generation, they actually did have a minhag that they, not on an LED light, but on an incandescent light, they used to say Havdala. They used to say Borei Menorah Esh, to show the whole world that it's usher to turn on these lights in your room on Shabbos, right? It's just mamish like turning on a real fire that has a flame. But Rav Ovadia brings, based on different poskim, that he's machmer. He says that since, again, the similar idea that he says to the menorah, why do we light the Havdalah lights on Friday night? Because that's when Adam created light, right? When Adam Arishon did the sin, there was no light in the world. So he says, and I'll read it verbatim, that one needs to basically going with the same rationale that he does on Hanukkah, one needs to follow the reasoning. The reason why we have the Havdala Ner is honor of Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon was a naked light. It was a fire that wasn't surrounded by bulb. So Rav Ovadia has a problem with you saying menorah ha'esh. Even some people poskim argue. He says that you would not, as a conclusion to the shir, if you don't have any other fire, you're not allowed to say menorah ha'esh, the bracha of menorah ha'esh, on the electronic fire. Why? Answer very simple, is because the fire that Adam HaRishon had was an open flame. It wasn't had a barrier of like a bulb around it. So since it's not similar to the fire of creation, the fire that Adam HaRishon had, he says that therefore, if people have a problem, it's a good minhag. Rav Ovadia writes that every shul they should say Havdala in it, so people will be Yosef, say the bracha of menorah ha'esh properly with a proper Havdala light. We wish everybody to have the light of happiness in their heart, the light of Torah. With this very special audience that was so great, and I'm proud of them. We should be zoiche to the light of Mashiach, to see the Kohen Gadol light our menorah in the Bet HaMikdash. Amen.
Oh, wait.